Good morning, students. Hello, friends. Welcome to Ashoka Online Academy. As we planned, we are discussing the daily current affairs program in the Ashoka Online Academy platform. So today we will discuss the Sunday and today's yesterday and today current affair concepts in the daily current affair programs of Ashoka Online Academy. If you follow this today's class, you will understand how UPSC will ask the questions in the UPSC civil service examination, and you will understand how we can guess the questions, future questions in the prelims, especially in the prelim stage, that can be asked by the UPSC. And you will understand how UPSC will give the hints to the students that in future I will ask the questions from these areas. So if you want to know how UPSC exactly frames the question and how it will give the hints to the students in the prelim stage, you need to watch this particular video till the end so that you will understand it. So with live examples, with the live questions, we will demonstrate how UPSC is going to help or suggest the students that it is going to ask the questions from particular areas in the future examinations of UPSC, especially in the prelim stage. So try to be patient and listen to this particular class so that you will understand what exactly I am talking about, and it will be very useful to you. Okay, so today we will begin with our current affairs program. There are total 5 topics, and along with the previous UPSC questions from those topics we will discuss as promised to you. So kindly share this video with your friends so that they will benefit, and follow the current affairs regularly. Okay, in this particular Ashoka Online Academy platform, where we are discussing the English current affairs useful for all the national level and state level PSC examinations. So our discussions will be confined to the examination point of view. They will be very short and they will be elaborative at the same time from explanation point of view. So today we will start this program or current affairs program. So Ashoka Online Academy daily current affairs program, okay, we'll try to look into the various topics. First, I want to discuss about what is called as the topic of defense exercises. Defense exercises. In this we have something like recently held Exercise Konkan 2021. Exercise Konkan 2021. It is purely prelims based topic. Let us understand this. The Exercise Konkan 2021 held between Indian Naval Service, TABAR, TABAR, naval ship, and HMS Westminster on 16th August 2021 in English Channel. Okay, that means the Exercise Konkan 2021 is held in United Kingdom. Understand that very clearly. Exercise Konkan 2021 between Indian Navy and the United Kingdom Navy. It is held in 2021 in the year where? In the English Channel waters. So where is English Channel? In United Kingdom. Its map we'll going to understand. Very simple. So what is this? It is an annual bilateral naval exercise between India and UK. You have to remember this compulsorily. It is an annual level exercise. It's a bilateral exercise. That means only 2 countries are involved, and it is a naval exercise. You need to remember these points specifically. Okay. Why? Because they will ask. It is a trilateral exercise, or it is held once in 2 years. Like this they will confuse. Simply remember Exercise Konkan 2021 or this year, it is a bilateral annual exercise between navies of India and United Kingdom. So this is how it is. So this Exercise Konkan, okay, first time it is held in the year 2004. Remember this fact very clearly. When it started, first time 2004. From 2004 till today, every year bilateral naval exercise Konkan is held between India and UK. So why it is held? It is held to enhance the interoperability of Indian and UK navies in terms of maritime cooperation, in terms of maritime security. Okay, and to bring or enhance synergy and cooperation between 2 navies. So both need to work in a synergical manner or cooperative manner is understood by this particular both the forces understand through this exercises. So always remember these facts very clearly. Now this is how it is. So see here. So just now I told you English Channel, the exercise 2021 Konkan is held in English Channel. So where is English Channel located? So see here, English Channel is here. So what it is doing, it is separating the France and England or United Kingdom. Understand that English Channel separates geographically the land masses of United Kingdom and the France country. First point. Second point, you need to understand what it is doing. English Channel is connecting the North Sea with the Atlantic Ocean. North Sea with the Atlantic Ocean. Many times, many exams, this question was asked. Which of the following channel connects the North Sea and Atlantic Ocean? English Channel. Which of the water body divides the United Kingdom and the France? It is English Channel. Remember these facts very clearly. English Channel, it is connecting the North Sea with the Atlantic Ocean, and it is dividing the France with the United Kingdom. Understand that very clearly. Apart from that, you need to understand here this is narrow channel, this is narrow water body between England and the France. This is called as Strait of Dover. Strait of Dover. Understand this very clearly. What is the Strait of Dover? Strait of Dover. Strait means a narrow water body. So this narrow water body, what it will do, it will separate two land masses. So Strait of Dover, it is separating, see here, it is a narrow water body separating France and England, and it is a narrow water body connecting North Sea with English Channel waters, connecting North Sea with English Channel waters. The North Sea, it is famous for Brent crude oil. It is famous for Brent crude oil. Understand this very clearly. So Brent crude oil is formed in huge amount in the North Sea region. So many questions were asked. Understand here, Strait of Dover separating the France and England, narrow water body. English Channel connecting Atlantic Ocean, North Sea via Strait of Dover. Strait of Dover combining the North Sea or connecting the North Sea with Atlantic Ocean. Many types of questions, combination of questions can be framed from this particular map. So understand this very clearly, and you understand one more thing. The UK, United Kingdom, it is an island. It is an island surrounded by Atlantic Ocean, North Sea and English Channel. It is an island. Remember that very clearly. United Kingdom is an island. So this is how it is. Now apart from this, so see here, I want to discuss about what are the other exercises, naval exercise, army exercise or military exercises and air force exercises between India and United Kingdom. Let us understand this. So see here, we have India, UK, army or military exercises. So what are these India and UK army and military exercises? They are Ajeya Warrior, first time conducted in 2013. Then Vajra Prahar. These are the military exercises between India and UK. Then India and UK Air Force related exercises. That means the Air Force of India and the Air Force of UK participate in these joint exercises. So what are they? They are Exercise Rainbow. Exercise Rainbow. It is an Air Force exercise between India and UK Air Force. Then Exercise Indradhanush. First time in 2006. It is the UK and India Air Force related exercises. Then what are India and UK naval exercises? Konkan exercise started in the year 2006, just now we have seen. So like this, whenever you are reading a small news, try to understand the other aspects of that particular news and develop that skill over a period of time. It will be useful for your UPSC civil service examination prelims and also in other stages. So this is how it is. Our discussion is only confined to, we can confine our discussion only to the Konkan exercise and complete, but that is not the way for preparing the UPSC. Understand here, you should understand exactly the points very clearly at the minute level. What is it? Annual bilateral naval exercise. Very good. When started? 2004. Between which countries? India and UK, where it conducted English channel. You don't know about English channel, go and see the English channel in the world map. So this is how you should, and apart from that you should also know what are the other exercises. What are the other exercises? Are there any military exercises? Yes, military exercises are there. Ajay Warrior, Vajrapahar. Are there any air force exercises between these two countries? Yes, Rainbow and Indradhanush. Are there any naval exercises? Yes, Konkan, that is what we discussed. English channel, okay, where it is, what it is doing. It is separating England with the France. It is connecting Atlantic with the North Sea, and it is having a small strait of Dover, like this. You need to understand the concepts in a holistic manner, both for the prelims and the mains examination. So this is how it is. Now let us proceed. This is the first topic, exercise Konkan 2021 and other facts. Pause the screen, write the facts. So let us go with the next important topic, that is the renewable energy. UPSC every year 2 to 3 questions in the prelims only on renewable energy topic. I can show you in every prelims paper in the CSAT pattern. Every year there is 2 to 3 questions on renewable energy. Renewable energy is part of the environment topic, and here you have 2 to 3 questions on renewable energy. So what is this topic is all about? Second topic, renewable energy. India's largest floating solar photovoltaic project. So what is this India's largest floating solar photovoltaic project? Very, very important. Try to catch these facts very clearly. They will ask in the coming examinations. So what is this is all about? India's largest floating solar photovoltaic. Photovoltaic means simply these are nothing but solar panels. Solar panels will be there. They absorb the photo energy from the sunlight or sun, and these panels, they generate the electricity. Okay, that's why the name photovoltaic. Understand that very simply. So what is this India's largest floating solar project? It is inaugurated. So what is the capacity? 25 megawatt capacity. Then who built this particular project? It is built by NTPC, National Thermal Power Corporation Limited. NTPC, it is the Maharatna PSU, public sector undertaking under Government of India. What NTPC will do? It will generate the electricity in India, and that is what we are utilizing in our homes and propelling our industries and driving our economic growths. So this is how it is. NTPC, it's a Maharatna PSU, okay, with the aim of producing electricity in India through thermal power plants. National Thermal Power Corporation Limited. Okay, thermal power plants they will set up, they will produce the energy. So NTPC have developed this India's largest floating solar photovoltaic project. So see here it is a thermal power plant. See here, these are all thermal power plants emitting a lot of CO2, okay, sulfur dioxide, nitrogen dioxide, fly ash, all those things. And this is what it is, a reservoir having water. Water is required for the thermal power plants, okay, for working of the thermal power plants. On these water reservoirs, they have arranged the floating solar panels, okay, and they are producing 25 megawatts of energy, okay, from the solar. Understand this. So where it is located? It is located at Simhadri Thermal Power Plant Reservoir of Visakhapatnam, Andhra Pradesh. The Simhadri Thermal Power Plant of located in the Visakhapatnam, Andhra Pradesh. There, this particular reservoir, okay, which very much, okay, and thermal power plant located near to the Bay of Bengal coastal area, and from the ocean they are extracting the waters, storing here and utilizing it for the thermal power plant, for cooling the thermal power plant equipment. So there they have created this project. So it is spread over 75 acres and it used 1 lakh solar panels. So if you see all these things, these are solar panels. So they used 1 lakh solar panels over 75 acres area in the reservoir. Understand this, on the top of the reservoir. That's why the name floating solar photovoltaic project. Understand this, write these facts very clearly. Okay, next we'll try to understand the other facts. So see here, this See here, this particular thermal power plant, whatever you are seeing, this is Simhadri thermal power plant. So this is 2000 megawatt. This is 2000 megawatt thermal power plant. Okay, this is Simhadri thermal power plant. This is Simhadri thermal power plant. It is using the water from the Bay of Bengal and storing here, and in this reservoir, okay, they created this particular 25 megawatt floating solar power project. Understand that very clearly. Now just try to understand this other facts about the Simhadri power plant. Nothing much is there. The 2000 megawatt coal based Simhadri station is the first power plant to implement an open sea intake from Bay of Bengal, which is functional for more than 20 years. That means simply they are taking the water from the Bay of Bengal and utilizing it in the thermal power plant for various purposes in the last 20 years. Understand that. And what are the other benefits, additional benefits of this particular photovoltaic solar project? So understand this. The benefits are like this. See here, this particular 25 megawatt solar power floating power project, it powers 7,000 households every month. It can give continuous electricity supply to 7,000 households every month. Okay. Now this particular floating solar project, what it will do is that it will save, or it will just stop 46,000 tons of CO2, okay, is stopped from being emitting into the atmosphere. 46,000 tons of CO2 equivalent is saved every year, okay, without emitting into the atmosphere. So in the process, what is happening? In the process, the project is contributing to overcoming reducing the CO2 emissions and overcoming the problem of global warming and climate change. Understand this very clearly. And what it will do? The project is also expected to save 1,364 million liters of water per annum, okay, which is equivalent to yearly water supply of 6,700 households. So how this particular project is saving the water? It will save the water from evaporation. So see here, because of heavy sunlight, what will happen? Whatever the water is there, it will be evaporated. So if you create the solar panels, the excess evaporation of water will stop. So according to the information given in the website of NTPC, they are saying that the project, whatever the project we created, it is going to save 1364 million liters of water per annum, okay, which is equivalent to yearly water supply given to 6,700 households. See here, these are other positive benefits of a particular project. So solar photovoltaic project is there, very good. It is of 25 megawatt, okay, renewable energy is generated, fine. But what are the other benefits? Other benefits are like this. It will reduce the amount of CO2 emissions that are going into the atmosphere. How much it is saving? 46,000 tons of CO2 equivalent is stopped from being emitted into the atmosphere. Second point. Third point is that it will provide electricity to the households every month, 7,000. Fourth point is that it will save the water from evaporation, okay, in the reservoir. Approximately 1,364 million liters per annum is being saved from evaporation, and it can be supplied to the 6,700 households. So these are all other positive benefits of a particular project. You need to understand them also. Why? Because you are preparing for UPSC. Okay. Now see here, let us understand quickly some facts about the NTPC, National Thermal Power Corporation, okay, Limited. So NTPC is National Thermal Power Corporation, Limited. So what is this? Thermal means NTPC is using or constructing the thermal power plants to generate the electricity. This generated electricity is supplied to houses, it is supplied to industries, okay, and it is supplied to it is powering the railways, and it is just propelling the economic growth. It is propelling the economic growth of the nation. So NTPC is established in the year 1975 as a statutory corporation. That means Parliament has passed a separate act for this particular setting up of NTPC. So what it will do? It will simply create thermal power plants at all India level, generate the electricity, supply to the households, industries, and very much required for the economic growth of the nation. So see here, NTPC has become a Maharatna company in the 2010 May. So what is this Maharatna company? So there is Maharatna company. There are 10 Maharatna companies in India. So these are public sector enterprises. So if you want to declare in a particular public sector enterprise as a Maharatna enterprise, so what is the criteria? The criteria is that in the last 3 years, the annual profit after paying the taxes should be greater than 5,000 crore. In the last 3 years, okay, after paying all the taxes, the annual profit in the last 3 years consistently should be greater than 5,000 crore. That is there for the last 3 years. Definitely they will declare it as a Maharatna company. We have 10 Maharatna companies as of today in India. Okay, when time comes, we will discuss that much more. Okay, so see here, NTPC as of today installed total capacity of 66,900 megawatt of electricity generation capacity through thermal power plants throughout India. You see here, NTPC has 71 power stations including 29 renewable projects operating throughout India. Understand this very clearly. Now, NTPC has its own target. So what is the target? Target is to install 60 gigawatt of renewable energy by 2032. So they need to create the renewable energy of 60 gigawatt by 2032 by constructing more solar power plants, by constructing more wind based power plants or any other renewable energy projects. So this is how it is. And NTPC is India's first energy company declared its energy compact goals as part of United Nations High Level Dialogue on Energy. United Nations High Level Dialogue on Energy. So where United Nations countries committed that we will create, okay, the renewable energy capacity in their respective countries. United Nations High Level Dialogue on Energy. So what is this? United Nations countries, okay, they sit and they discuss about, okay, how we produce renewable energy, okay, in our countries, in all the United Nations related countries. So as part of this, from India, NTPC is also there. Why? Because NTPC is generating power electricity for entire country. So obviously it is part of this particular United Nations High Level Dialogue on Energy, and it is India's first energy company to declare its energy compact goals. So as part of these goals only, they are saying that from by 2032 we will target is to generate 60 gigawatt of renewable energy. Understand this very clearly. Okay, so this is about NTPC. Here the main topic is this thing, India's largest floating solar power project. Here you need to remember for prelims, 25 megawatt by NTPC located in Andhra Pradesh. That's it. These are for the prelims. But apart from that, we need to understand other facts also. What are the benefits for this project? How it is beneficial? From which dimensions it is beneficial? So these are mains related aspects. So this is how it is. I discussed about the NTPC also. So you need to remember formation 1975, statutory corporation, Maharatna company since 2010, total installed capacity 66,900 megawatt, or simply remember round off to 67,000 megawatts. So that is how it is, and it has 71 power stations, thermal power plants all over the country. But see here, there is another topic associated with it, additional information I want to provide. What is that additional information? The world's largest floating solar energy project, okay, in Omkareshwar Dam. declared recently in January 2021 by Government of India. So this is in news. You need to understand this news very clearly. The world's largest floating solar energy project, it will be in India within 2 to 3 years. Already the construction began. Where it is located? It is located in the Omkareshwar Dam. Okay, so understand this additional information. It is announced by Indian government in January 2021. Where is the location? Location is Omkareshwar Dam on Narmada River. The dam is located in the Madhya Pradesh. So Omkareshwar Dam, if you just visit this particular dam, Omkareshwar Dam, nearby you will have a Jyotirlinga temple called as Omkareshwar Temple, one of the Jyotirlinga temple of Lord Shiva. It is part of the Vindhya mountains of Madhya Pradesh. Understand that very clearly. Like we have this Sri Shailam Dam. It is part of the Sri Shailam temple. Similarly, the Omkareshwar Dam, it is part of the Omkareshwar temple nearby region, nearby location. Okay, located on Narmada River in Madhya Pradesh. Now, this world's largest floating solar energy project, its total capacity is 600 megawatts. So understand this. Just now we have seen the Simhadri power plant, floating solar power plant. How much capacity? 25 megawatt. How many solar panels they used? 1 lakh solar panels. But here it is 600 megawatts. How many more they will use? Okay, we will come to know in future. So it's a very big one. So Government of India announced that the world's largest floating solar energy project will be completed by the year 2022-2023. Who is providing funding for this particular project? International Finance Corporation, IFC of World Bank. International Finance Corporation, it is one of the arm or organization under the World Bank. So this International Finance Corporation, it will provide the loans at low cost for infrastructure development to the member countries. So as part of this, we are getting the funding from International Finance Corporation, World Bank, and the Power Grid. So Power Grid, it is also a public sector undertaking in India, where it creates the power transmission line infrastructure, so that the whatever the power that is generated in India by thermal power plants, it will be supplied or distributed through the transmission lines and reaches the households and industries. So Power Grid, International Finance Corporation, World Bank, both are funding this particular project. World's largest floating solar power plant, you need to remember Omkareshwar Dam, Narmada River in Madhya Pradesh. 600 megawatt energy will be generated, completing by the year 2022. Financed by Power Grid, International Finance Corporation of World Bank. So let us understand these things very clearly. Okay, now see here. So this is the Narmada River. The Narmada River is there here. If you just observe this particular Narmada River, so see here, so this Narmada River, it is flowing through the states of Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, and also the Gujarat. So whatever we have seen, the Omkareshwar Dam, here it is, So on Narmada River, various dams are there, like we have the Bargi Dam is there in Madhya Pradesh, then Tawa Dam is there in Madhya Pradesh, then Narmada Sagar Dam is there again in Madhya Pradesh, then Omkareshwar Dam in Madhya Pradesh, then Maheshwar Dam again in Madhya Pradesh, then the Sardar Sarovar Dam project in the Gujarat. So all these are various dams: Bagri Dam, Tawa Dam, Narmada Sagar Dam, Omkareshwar Dam, Maheshwar Dam, and Sardar Sarovar Dam project. These are all the dams that are part of the Narmada River system. So as part of this particular world's largest solar floating power project, it is in the Omkareshwar Dam. It is in the Omkareshwar Dam. Understand this? Omkareshwar Dam. It is located in the Madhya Pradesh on Narmada River. So here the famous temple is this Omkareshwar Jyotirlinga temple, which is part of the Vindhya mountains, So you know the Narmada River, it flows between the Vindhya and the Satpura mountains. So this is Vindhya, this is Satpura. In between the Rift Valley, the Narmada River will flows. Understand that very clearly. So this is the thing here. This is the facts. Factual part. So let us continue our discussion. Let us continue our discussion. You need to write this particular thing. Okay, then we'll try to understand the previous questions. See here, there is a question on Omkareshwar. There is a question on Omkareshwar. So what is this Omkareshwar related question in UPSC? We'll try to understand this very clearly. And there is also question on Narmada River, already asked in the UPSC examination. Just try to understand here very clearly. Just try to understand here very clearly. What I told you from this program starting is that I will discuss the previous UPSC questions from those current affairs topic. It is not that much easy. We need to collect those things and we need to establish the relation between those questions. So just try to understand this fact very clearly. In 2013, there is a question on Narmada River. There is a question on Narmada River. So just now I told you how UPSC will give hints to the students that it will ask the questions from a particular topic in future. So if you see here, there is a question on 2013 UPSC question on Narmada River. Now what happened is that means UPSC is telling to the student that in future I will ask the questions related to the Narmada River or related to the geography of Narmada River, tributaries of Narmada River, dams of Narmada River, whatever it may be, national parks of Narmada River Basin or pilgrimage sites of Narmada River Basin. Please be careful. That was the hint given to the students by UPSC. So what happened in the next year 2014? In the next year 2014, they also asked about a question related to the Narmada River, about Omkareshwar temple, that is part of the Narmada River Basin, or Omkareshwar dam on which constructed on the Narmada River. So here the hint is very simple. In 2013, UPSC is asking the question on Narmada River. That means it is saying to the student that I am focusing on Narmada River related things. In future also, there will be questions on the Narmada River and its nearby areas. Be careful, prepare well. But you may think that whatever I am saying is totally wrong. I will prove this again and again in various topics. You will understand that today itself. Okay, so see here. So what is this question? The Narmada River flows to the west while most other large peninsular rivers flows to the east. Why? Very simple question. Just now we have seen in the map, the Narmada River is flowing to the west, and entering into this particular Gulf of Cambay of Gujarat. So the question is flowing to the west while most other peninsular rivers flows to the east. Why? It's saying that Godavari, Krishna, Kaveri, Pennar, they are all moving towards the east side, but Narmada is moving towards the west side. Why? What is the reason? First is that it occupies a linear rift valley. Everybody knows that Narmada River is flowing between the Vindhya and Satpura mountains. In between there is a rift valley created by these mountains, and in this the river is flowing towards the west like this. This is 100% true. It flows between the Vindhyas and the Satpuras. Yes, Vindhyas and Satpuras are there. In between they created a rift valley. In that rift valley only the river is flowing. Though two statements are actually one statement. Both are true. The third statement, the land slopes to the west from central India. So what he is saying is that from central India, the land is having the slope towards the west. So see here, just understand here what he is saying in the third statement is that from central India, the land is just sloping towards the west. It is just sloping towards the west side. So that's why the river is flowing towards the west side. But that statement is wrong. Actually, the land in general, in reality, the land is having slope like this towards the east from central India. That's why many rivers, Godavari, Krishna, Pennar, Kaveri, other rivers, they flow towards the eastern side. Why? Because the slope is towards the east side and they enter in the Bay of Bengal. but this river is flowing in the Rift Valley of Vindhya and Satpura. So both 1 and 2 are correct statement. Select the correct answer using the codes given below. So the Narmada river is flowing to the west, while most other peninsula rivers flows to the east. Why? It occupies a linear rift valley. It flows between Vindhya and the Satpuras. Okay, the land slopes to the west from central India. See here, the third statement is wrong. When third statement is wrong, you can eliminate this, you can eliminate this. First statement is right. It occupies a linear rift valley. 1 and 1 only. Understand here? Second is also right, but second is not there. Second is not there. Only one is there, you go for it. Are you understanding what I am saying? See here, in this option, if there is like 1 and 2, both are right. Since second statement is also right, but it is not there in the option, just forget it. Only one is true, you keep answer A 1. This question was asked in 2013. So understand such questions will come. And I told you, what is the UPSC suggesting to students? In future, I am asking the question from this area. Be careful. So see here. So next question is, consider the following pairs. Place of pilgrimage and its location. Sri Salem. We know about Sri Salem. It is part of Nallamala Hills in Andhra Pradesh, Eastern Ghats. Second, Omkareshwar. It is in Satmala Hills of Madhya Pradesh. No, it is not. Satmala Hills of Maharashtra. No, it is not part of Satmala Hills of Maharashtra. It is part of the, Omkareshwar is part of the Vindhya Mountains. It is part of the Vindhya Mountains in Madhya Pradesh. So this is wrong. Okay. Then what about the Pushkar? Pushkar, it is a pilgrimage place in the Rajasthan. Okay, Rajasthan Rajmahal Hills. Okay, it is located Pushkar. Mahadev Hills, they are part of Madhya Pradesh. Whereas Pushkar is in Rajasthan. So this is also true. Sorry, wrong. Which of the above pairs are correctly matched? So out of the 3, only one is correctly matched. So only if you know that Pushkar is from Rajasthan, you can simply eliminate the D, C, B. Finally, you will have only one. You need to just remember here, if you know that Pushkar is a pilgrimage place from Rajasthan, you can come to the conclusion like this. So see here, why he asked Omkareshwar? Why? Because Omkareshwar is a pilgrimage temple that is part of the Narmada basin, and I already asked a question in 2013 on Narmada. So this is how the UPSC will ask the questions. Now let us understand the next topic, that is the biodiversity related topic. What you call it as the Adi Cascade frog, new frog species discovered. So very simple, Adi Cascade frog. So what it is a new brown color frog between the size 4 centimeters, 7 centimeters, discovered in the Adi Hills of Arunachal Pradesh. So what is this Adi Hills of Arunachal Pradesh? Here the Adi tribes are living there, and in the name of these tribes, the name of the frog is called as Adi Cascade frog. Understand this. So what are this? What is the meaning of Adi? Adi means hill or mountain top. So Adi Hills are also called as Abor Hills in Arunachal Pradesh, where the Adi tribes are living. Here they discovered a new frog called as Adi Cascade frog. New frog species, it is a new frog species is discovered. Understand that very clearly. That means there is a huge development. Simply they will ask the questions in a simple manner. So see here, if you see this particular thing, so this is the Twitter image kept by an IFS officer. So what this image is saying is new species of cascade frog named after the Adi tribes of Arunachal Pradesh. So see here. So what is this new species of cascade frog? So see here, it belongs to the genus Amolophus. It belongs to the genus of Amolophus. So see here, Amolophus genus. It belongs to the genus of Amolophus. And they are one of the largest groups of Ranid frogs family. So it belongs to larger genus of Amolophus. In that the family is Ranid frogs family. Okay, understand this very clearly. Okay, so very simple. Okay, so they are seen in small waterfalls or cascades that are flowing in the mountain hill regions. So see here, there are 73 known species of cascade frogs. They are widely distributed across Northeast and North India, Nepal, Bhutan, China, Indochina to Malaya Peninsula. Just remember, the cascade frogs belongs to the genus Amorphous and the family Ranidae. Cascade frogs belongs to the genus Amorphous and the family Ranidae. They are widely distributed in the Northeast, China, and up to this particular Malaya Peninsula or Malaysia. So remember this particular thing very clearly. Okay. So see here. So where it was discovered? See here. I want to discuss topic. A new species of frog discovered in the Arunachal Pradesh Abor Hills or Adi Hills. Let us understand what the article is saying is that every year new species of frogs are discovered in this particular region of Northeast, that is Arunachal and the Northeast region. Now my focus is, are there any questions on Arunachal Pradesh and Northeast, and is there any pattern that is given by the UPSC to the students that they are going to ask the questions from this Arunachal Pradesh or Northeast region? Yes, there is a pattern. So see here, the topic is simple. It is the Amorphous ardicola frog is there. It was discovered simply. Okay, that is the news. But see here, Adi cascade frog. Okay, but the thing is that Arunachal Pradesh, Abor Hills, Adi tribes, these are all facts. Let us understand some of the questions that were asked in the UPSC exam regarding the Arunachal Pradesh or the Northeast India. So there are various questions. In 2011 there is one question. In 2000, this is 2012. 2012 there is one question. This is 2013 question, and this is 2014. Sorry, this is 15 question. 2015 question. Okay, this is also 2015 question. So see here. Just I want to give you a hint. The hint is that if you just read the previous UPSC question papers, you can find a pattern. The pattern is like this. Once UPSC asks one question from one particular area in a particular year, it means the UPSC is giving suggestions to the students that in future also I am asking questions from this area. Be prepared from this area. That is the hint given by the UPSC. I can show you n number of questions in the UPSC prelims papers like this from all the subjects. Why? Because I am preparing for this exam from the last 8 years. That means more than my graduation and post graduation, I am preparing for this particular exam. I gave 4 mains, 1 interview, unfortunately could not clear, but no problem. Okay, so understand this. So I want to share this knowledge with you. Just take it and utilize it for your success. Why? Because nobody at that particular point of time told me all these things. So this is how it is. 2011 UPSC question on Arunachal Pradesh. That means UPSC is saying that students, I will ask in future the questions related with Arunachal Pradesh or Northeast. Whatever it may be about biodiversity of Arunachal Pradesh, it may be about geography of Arunachal Pradesh, it may be about tribes of Arunachal Pradesh, culture of Arunachal Pradesh, history of Arunachal Pradesh, whatever it may be. But I will ask the questions from Arunachal Pradesh and Northeast. What are they? See here. 2011 Arunachal Pradesh related question. Among the following states, which one has the most suitable climatic conditions for cultivation of a large variety of orchids with a minimum cost of production and can develop an export oriented industry in this field? Orchids, they are nothing but flowering plants. Decorative flowering plants. So the question is, among the following states, which one has the most suitable climatic conditions for the cultivation of large variety of orchids? Orchids are flowering plants. Simply they grow in the temperate regions or mild cold climatic condition regions in high altitude regions. This much is the basic definition of orchids. Orchids are flowering plants growing in the temperate region or cold climatic conditions. Okay, So if you just see the options, Andhra Pradesh, is it temperate region? No, it is part of tropical region. Is it having cold conditions? No, obviously you can eliminate this. Madhya Pradesh, it is part of temperate region? No, it is part of tropical region of India. Cold conditions are not there, remove this. Uttar Pradesh, tropical region, cold conditions are not there, remove this. Arunachal Pradesh, simply it is part of the temperate region, it is having cold climatic conditions in some areas, that's why suitable climatic condition for growth of the orchid. Simple question. Okay, simple, but the hint is UPSC is giving to us. In future I am asking the questions related to Arunachal Pradesh region. See here, that is 2011. This is 2012 prelims. Again a question on Arunachal Pradesh. What is this question? See here, a particular state in India has following characteristics. So what are they? It is located on the same latitude which passes through the northern Rajasthan. That means the latitude of the Rajasthan and the latitude of this particular state, okay, passing through same latitude. It has over 80% of its area under forest cover. The third statement, over 12% of the forest cover constitutes protected area network in this state. That means more than 80% area of the state is forest. Within that 80% forest, 12% is having protected areas, national park, wildlife sanctuaries, tiger reserves, biosphere reserves, all these things. So which of among the following state has all the above characteristics? Understand that very clearly. Here nobody will know exactly these 2 and 3 statements, but if you study the map very regularly, it is located on the same latitude which passes through northern Rajasthan. It means it is Arunachal Pradesh. Understand this very clearly. Okay? Understand this very clearly. The answer is Arunachal Pradesh. From this one single hint, you can keep this particular question Arunachal Pradesh. But to attempt this question, in 2011, you should have the knowledge that something is coming in future from Arunachal Pradesh or Northeast region. So see here, that is 2012 question. Now UPSC, what it answer is Arunachal Pradesh. Now again what it did is in 2013 there is one more question. So what is this? Consider the following pairs. Nokrek Biosphere Reserve in Garo Hills, Logtak Lake in Bareil Range of Assam. Bareil Range is in Assam. Logtak Lake is in Manipur, the freshwater lake of Manipur. Obviously this is wrong. When 2 is wrong, this is gone, this is gone. Okay. Namdappa National Park, it is part of Arunachal Pradesh. It is part of Arunachal Pradesh. Dafla Hills are there in Assam. Dafla Hills are there in Assam. You can eliminate this simply. So this is also gone. So the answer is Nokrek Biosphere Reserve. It is part of the Garo Hills of Meghalaya. Garo Hills of Meghalaya. Nokrek Biosphere Reserve, it is located in the Meghalaya. Understand this? So answer is 1 only. Okay. So this is how it is. Okay. These are all map based questions. Now see here. So just now I have shown you the northern part of Rajasthan, okay, is passing through the northern part of Rajasthan is passing through the Arunachal Pradesh like this. Okay, so this is how it is. But at the same time, the forest cover condition, greater than 80% of the state is having forest cover, but that is not there in the Uttar Pradesh. Forest cover is not there in the Uttar Pradesh. Okay, so this is how it is. Okay, same thing is not there, that much of forest cover is not there in the Uttarakhand also. Okay, so see here. Now this is one question that was asked in the 2015. So what is this? Which one of the following pairs of states of India indicates easternmost, westernmost state? Very simple. Which is easternmost state? Which is which is westernmost state and which is easternmost state? If you see the map, westernmost state is this particular Gujarat. Okay. Then easternmost state is Arunachal Pradesh. Very simple. It is Arunachal and Gujarat. That's it. That means he's then. See here, one more question. 2015 again. Which one of the following national parks has a climate that varies from tropical to subtropical, temperate and arctic? Arctic means cold climatic conditions are there. Okay. So what is the answer? Arunachal Pradesh, Namdappa National Park. Understand these things very clearly. So here I want to tell you only one thing. UPSC will give you a hint that it will ask the question from Arunachal Pradesh in 2011. 2011 one question, 2012 one question, 2013 one question, 2015 one question, 2015 second question. So this is how it is. Okay. So like this they will give the hint again and again to the student that they are going to ask the questions. So this is how it is. Okay. So after this we will try to understand some more topics, these topics. Now we will try to understand the small biodiversity topic, fishing cat. Fishing cat, very simple. So what is this fishing cat? It is the state animal of West Bengal, IUCN vulnerable species, Appendix 2 of CITES, Schedule 1 of Wildlife Protection Act. Present in Southeast Asia in the river systems of Ganga, Brahmaputra, Godavari, Krishna, Irrawaddy, Chauparya. Understand this very clearly. State animal of West Bengal, fishing cat, vulnerable species. So this is one of the cat species, belongs to cat species, and understand this fact very clearly. In Chilka Lake of Odisha, there is a huge population of fishing cats. Chilka Lake, it is the largest, Asia's largest brackish water lake, Chilka Lake. In that, more population of fishing cat are seen in the Chilka Lake. So see here, it is the top predator of wetland ecosystem. Okay, it has double layered coat which keep the skin from getting wet. So what are the threats? Its habitat is shrinking. Wetland ecosystems are threatened. Okay, the mangrove ecosystems and grassland ecosystems are threatened because of various activities. So understand that very clearly. Okay. So see here, in the Chilka Lake, which is home to fishing cat population, it is also present in Bhitarkanika and Koringa wildlife sanctuaries. Koringa wildlife sanctuary is in Andhra Pradesh. Understand that. So in 2020 what happened is that Chilka Lake Development Authority, government body in charge of preserving India's oldest Ramsar site, declared the fishing cat as Chilka Lake Ambassador. Chilka Lake Ambassador. Direct question will come. Which of the following creature declared as a Chilka Lake Ambassador? It is the fishing cat. So this is how it is, my friends. So today we will stop this particular current affairs here. Why? Because it is becoming too lengthy. Tomorrow we will discuss the other things. So same thing. Every day we will discuss the prelims questions so that you will benefit from this program. So watch this video very carefully. Understand what I said in the video. It will be useful for your prelims examination. Why? Because prelims is tough. You need to clear the prelims, then only you will go to the mains. So thank you very much. Have a nice day. Share this video with your friends so that it will be benefit for them and for me also. More people seeing the content, more motivation and inspiration for me to do such videos. That's it. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Okay, great learning. Thank you.